Good morning and welcome to Sunrise. It's another Saturday morning. Hope your weekend has started on a wonderful note. Mine has. It's Saturday morning. I was locked in this traffic again on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Forgive me, I just have to talk about it. I don't know what, traffic contention you're having in your own area, but please do me a favor and let us know. Let's make some noise about these things if you can. Twitter handle is right there, Sunrise CTV. That's what you find. Okay, it's no longer Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, X. It's right there at Sunrise CTV, one word. And you can also send us a mail on our email address, which will be on your screen shortly. But I'm still wondering why the discipline of the roads is our challenge. The only portion, the major portion of the Lagos end of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway that's having issues is the Berger bus stop going out and coming into Lagos. But you see, going out of Lagos, right now the tailback must go as far as the Otedala Bridge for those who know the area. And the tailback is so disturbing because it goes from 4 lanes into 2 lanes. And guess what? Along those 2 lanes, no official of any government agency there to control traffic. I only saw one soldier. One soldier trying to enforce the rules of don't stop to pick passengers along that path. You could have done it before. There is a lay-by right before that sandwich, and there is another space after, but they just had to, stop. And it wasn't just 1 or 2, it was quite a few. So can someone please go out there and just, because when traffic is not moving, the economy is literally not moving. I don't even know if we connect, that speed, that traffic on the roads to the growth of the economy or the speed at which the economy is moving. We had Dr. Kwefa tell us here that the volume of vehicles on the road is a depiction of how vibrant an economy is. I don't know how difficult that can be, but hey, grateful that I am here. And one thing that I want to begin with this morning is to celebrate Nigeria's sportswoman, Tobi Amusan. I want to do this because, most of the time we only celebrate people when they do well, when they win medals and all of those things. But with what Tobi went through, trying to get through this international hurdle, which a good number of people believe is some kind of witch hunt, and she's been exonerated, cleared to perform during the recent, competition that they are having in Budapest. And she didn't come first. She didn't win the laurel, but I'm just wondering how harrowing an experience it must have been, how disturbing it must have been, and how such things will affect anyone to perform poorly. She didn't, as far as I'm concerned, she didn't perform below her best. It was just something that could happen to anyone. Imagine having to deal with such harrowing integrity issue. It's really more about her integrity here, saying that she did what she didn't do, and pretty much saying, look, you are a liar, something like that. You're just doing things that you're not supposed to do, breaking the rules, which she didn't do, being cleared, and here we are today. Well, she just came out to say, look, I didn't win. The Jamaican won, Danielle Williams won, but she promised that she's going to be back stronger. Her words, according to a newspaper, says, I just want to say a huge thank you to those who have been supporting me through the ups and downs. You all stood by me, kept praying for me. God bless you all. I'm sorry I might have let you down. No, you didn't let us down. You are a human being, Tobi Amusan. So kudos to you and all the best at all times. Well, we just recently received this information from the NBS that Nigeria's unemployment rate was now 4.1%. in the first quarter of this year, as opposed to 5.3% in the previous quarter. In the fourth quarter of 2020, the Bureau had pegged the country's unemployment rate at 33.3%. Now, what's interesting here is what people are saying about, this methodology, this new methodology. So one of the things that makes the news now is that, look, the old methodology, according to the NBS statement, says it placed a range of the working age population between 15 and 64 years, considering working hours between 20 and 39 hours as underemployment, 1 to 19 hours as unemployment. That's what the statement said. But now says, in addition, subsistence, agriculture, and temporary abstinence, or rather absentees from employment work, were not properly represented, as well as of mutually exclusive of unemployment and employment. Long and short, the new methodology now says if you work for 1 hour in a day, you are employed. Is that something you agree with? Well, those who work online and have meetings online make a lot of money within just 1 hour of work. But hey, let me know what your thoughts are on X this morning. See how far we can take that one. So unemployment is down to 4.1% from the previous 5.3%. And one can say, well, that started even before this government got into power, because the unemployment rate was measured for the first quarter of this year, even before this government came into power. So that is there for you, and let me know what your own thoughts are. Another issue of interest is that airline operators in Nigeria say they are subsidizing air tickets heavily for passengers in Nigeria. So the operators said they are considering the Naira's volatility, and so the price of a flight ticket from Lagos to Abuja should not be 51,000 Naira, should be 250,000 Naira due to Naira crash. This was disclosed by the spokesman for Airline Operators of Nigeria, AON, Obiora Okonkwo. Okay. So I don't know what your thoughts are about that, but I hope this proposition of airline operators also factors in delayed flights, cancelled flights, and lack of communication between the passengers and the airlines themselves. I hope they factor in the cost of those hours that people wait at the airports for flights that they told them, look, it's going to be for instance, say 10:35, and you have to wait for endless hours and no one is saying anything to you. And FAAN says, okay, you're entitled to one thing or the other, and then you probably get a measly, what's the word now? I don't know, biscuits and one soft drink, which health officials say is not healthy for us. I don't even want to go there. So that's the proposition. What are your thoughts? And where is that going? Let me see how far that can trend on X this morning. But that's there's a lot more on the program this morning to discuss. So let us get into it. Get your own cup of coffee. I was in traffic this morning, so I couldn't get my cup of cocoa this morning. But hey, please do get yours. Or is it cocoa you want? I'll be right back and we can begin the show. Thank you so much for staying with us, and believe me, that is the story. That's the core of what we are talking about this morning on Sunrise. Okay, just to let you know, we have 5 things we want to discuss this morning. We'll begin with national orientation for national development. We'll be talking about functional education matters that are arising. Tech, use, downstream oil and gas sector is there. On Lifestyle Today, let's talk about self-medication, and Artist of the Week is... No, I'll hold that one. But let's go into the first conversation this morning. And, you know, one thing that I find very interesting, I was going through something this morning. I find it very, very, very exciting. Let me take you through it. So I was just scouring the internet for the conversation. And I found out that the present, of course, is something that I had known for a long time. The present National Orientation Agency used to be known as Mass Mobilization for Self-Reliance, Social Justice, and Economic Recovery, MAMSA for short. It was inaugurated on July 25, 1987 by the Babangida regime with its objectives as propagation of the need to eschew all vices in public life, inclusive of corruption, dishonesty, electoral and census malpractices, ethnic and religious bigotry, shed all pretenses of affluence in Nigerian lifestyle, reorient Nigerians to shun waste and vanity, inculcate in Nigerians a dependence towards locally made goods, and mobilize Nigerians to participate in upcoming elections and public debates, among several others. Well, as we all know, there's so much that have been said over that, and you know, many of us grew up with some songs. Those who will not forget Andrew in a long time. Nigeria is our country. Let's work together and salvage Nigeria together. And after some time, they produced a second one. And then in that, about that same time, was when Veno Mariogai released a song titled Nigeria Go Survive. And one of the famous lines in it was, Andrew, no check out, oh. Stay and build your country, Nigeria go survive. If we went on and on. If you do your work, oh, and me, I do my own, oh. Andrew go stay to help, oh. Nigeria go survive. Lovely song. But then I wouldn't also forget this one. It was on one of the FRCN stations at the time. And it was literally talking about individuals. Long throat no good, oh, why you na sabotage? If you no go help Nigeria, now your shame be that. But where are those songs now? Those were public service announcements, social engineering songs. But hey, where are we today? Let's have conversations around this national orientation for national development with Atinyota Hallelujah Pobome, popularly known as Alibaba, in case you don't know. He's former head of a federal government committee on creative industry. He's also a comedian. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me again.
Two individuals join us virtually. Dr. Adetola Salao is a former special assistant on education to the Lagos State Governor. She joins us virtually, as well as Dr. Olatunji Shobodu, who is founder and CEO, Emet Leadership Academy, joins us also virtually. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this morning. Let me begin with you, Alibaba. First of all, what memories do those songs bring to you?
There's one that also joins the list of the ones you mentioned. We say, me, I like my country, I like the land and people, everything he did for Nigeria. Make you join hands to make Nigeria better. You see, most of the key points and objectives and functions that MAMSA had at the time, which later became National Orientation Agency, have all been defeated by the government officials themselves. So you have government officials themselves who have refused to invest in the country. And so it is difficult for them to tell any other person to invest in the country.
Because what they're supposed to do, they're not doing.
They're not doing. So you then have government officials who have refused to invest in tourism, but travel on boat cruises.
Outside Nigeria.
Outside Nigeria. They go on leisure trips outside Nigeria. They go to watch sports festivals outside Nigeria, but will not invest in Nigeria. The other thing is the purpose and objectives of MAMSA and National Orientation Agency is to actually galvanize the people in unity, patriotism, and have them function in a way that it helps national goals and national development. But you see, a lot of most of the time, not even just a lot of, most of the time, you find that the agency has failed in doing that because the government itself does not think there's a purpose in that orientation agency.
It's what's interesting in all of this that you're saying is that it was government that initiated MAMSA in 1987.
Yes.
And it was expectedly government that should have sustained it. It was the same government that converted MAMSA into NOA.
Okay.
I think that was in the Fourth Republic, when the Fourth Republic began. So what then? Where is the gap? Don't worry, let me take the opening comments of Dr. Adetola Salau as well. She's in the education space, former special assistant on education to the Lagos State Governor. Well, Dr. Salau, what are your memories about patriotic songs such as the one Ali Baba and I just shared? Please unmute. Go ahead.
Yes, I just thought I was muted. Yes, I actually started singing along. I did. I was like, everything we did for Nigeria. Yeah. Great memory.
Okay, but would you say that we have lost anything by when those things don't seem to be popular anymore? And in terms of national orientation, those things, were they effective as far as you're concerned?
I think they were effective for a good number of us in that, so today we have a strong identification with Nigeria. When I was in the States, every Friday, when it was supposed to be casual Friday, I always wore a derail on Kara because I strongly wanted to identify with my heritage, with my people. And I was very proud to always tell people that I'm Nigerian. So it really helped. I think the biggest thing for us to work on in terms of national orientation is to get back, because there was a discussion I had with a couple of other intelligentsias, people who are also working on how do we transform education, what do we do to orient the mindset of our students. And I was telling someone that if you look at the 50s and the 60s in the US, they made major strides in promoting this whole patriotism that we still see in Hollywood and a lot of the media in the US. It started then during the space race, and they utilized a lot of media, entertainment, push and drive that message. And it was a uniform message, and it was passed over and over. So yes, using public service announcements is quite effective, but it's going to cut across all these spheres, and it has, that similar message has to pass. And that message that was passed in the 50s and 60s was
they were buttressed, but pardon me for butting in, Dr. Salau, they were buttressed by with education. As I said before, countless times, I'm so proud of the fact that when I was growing up in my primary school, early primary school days, we had such subjects as moral instruction and civic education. In the secondary school, we had social studies, and you couldn't miss, you know, certain values and ethics of nationhood in any of those classes. How well would you say we are doing with those things now?
We still have civic education. We have religious studies. We have civic education. We have religious studies. But I think the issue is there needs to be uniformity at the school. There needs to be uniform where the message is being passed at home, the message is being passed all across. That was the point I was trying to make about the US, that their singular message was we are number one, we're going to win the space race, we are unbeatable. That thing was hammered and hammered and hammered. So the whole thing is from the home, at school, everywhere, that message passed. And a good part of it, yes, will be done in schools, but it also has to cut across spheres. I don't think if they had only done it alone in the school, I mean, it was quite effective, please don't get me wrong, but it was everywhere. That message was relentless.
Absolutely.
Constant, non-stop.
You couldn't miss it anywhere. Yeah.
You couldn't miss it anywhere.
Yeah. Well,
let me...
We need to get back to that, yeah. Dr. Shobodu, Ali Baba mentioned, started his contribution on this program by talking about the leadership. And when I'm talking about the leadership here, he's talking about the civil servants the public civil servants and public servants. I always make this reference, Dr. Shobodu, that it was before independence. I really wish I could get that piece of paper that I saw. I don't know whether it was online, that I saw this piece of paper where Chief Obafemi Awolowo was delivering a lecture to students in the UK. And he was complaining to them at that time that the political class of his day, before the First Republic began, preferred imported stuff to locally made ones. He cited examples. He was speaking to students in tertiary institutions in the UK, Nigerian students in the UK at the time. Getting back there seems to be a lot of work, particularly at this time when the Minister of Information and National Orientation, by the way, that's actually deliberate on the part of the federal government to say it's not just information, arts and culture, information and national orientation. That's the name of the ministry now, the federal ministry now. At a time when the minister is talking about reorientation for Nigerians, how easy do you think that will go? Because starting from the top, it has to be not just from the bottom.
Well, thank you for having me. Let me start by latching on to what Ali Baba said. I think the fact that you can even remember the songs and you can sing them along and do so with such, excitement tells you that, we can have a potent campaign that can actually arrest the attention of the people. And once you arrest the attention of the people, you can get them to do the right things. I think where we have had a problem and where we're still having issues is it seems at the end that government, is showcasing hypocrisy. The act lacks authenticity. The people cannot relate. I can remember the songs. I can chant them. I can sing them. I can dance to them.
Go ahead and sing them.
But when Andrew, who would forget Andrew, for God's sake? You can't possibly forget Andrew. Mm-hmm. These are jingles that when you hear them play, you just go ahead and, they sounded very nice. Yeah. But then you are watching the government, you are watching your leadership, and you can't reconcile what you are being asked to do, what you are celebrating, with the message. So at the end of the day, the people are primed, ready, but they need to see that government means business. And so the kind of examples that Ali Baba gave tells you that, the leadership is not serious, that you are not taking, and it's unfortunate because huge resources are engaged, they are deployed for you and I to remember, to still have that nostalgia about these things. It means, that those resources were effectively deployed, but we did not take advantage of that because the leadership itself failed to support,
okay.
The campaign that it embarked upon. Perhaps, it remains a challenge today.
Yeah, perhaps is it a question of support or sustain? Because as Ali Baba and I just agreed now, it started in 1987 with MAMSA, right? But
yes,
it was sustained until the end of that administration, and there was a political turmoil. But let me ask Ali. So this is where we are now, and I want us to spend the next 30 minutes or thereabout talking about how to wiggle our way out of where we are. All of us on this panel, please, let's try to find our way out of this. We have a huge population, speculatively more than 200 million. We have an immense youth bulge, more than 50% of our population are young people.
Yep.
I doubt if there is any of those in that 50%, unless those who may be hearing about Andrew now had any idea who Andrew was. 1987 to now is 38 years ago.
Okay.
Now, those ideals are gone. The Constitution is very clear about certain objectives, national objectives, the Constitution calls those things that we have. But who is telling anyone
about them?
That's another thing altogether. It's in chapter 20, in subsection, section 23 of the Constitution. And I quote it from time to time happily because it is right there, and we are supposed to raise them ourselves. National ethics, section 23. The national ethics shall be discipline, integrity, dignity of labor, social justice, religious tolerance, self-reliance, and patriotism. It is in the Constitution.
But you see, one of the objectives is to actually make people move away from exhibition of ostentatious life.
Yes.
But not too long ago, we saw a bottle of whiskey being presented to somebody, a senator, that the drink alone was worth about 7 or 8 million naira.
Whoa.
Was presented to him. That's exhibitionism of ostentatious life.
It's very same things that are supposed to be eschewed.
Exactly. Don't forget that before MAMSA, it was war against indiscipline.
Yes, that was in
1984.
1984, yes.
So between 1984, the backlash was that when you say war against indiscipline, you are saying that your people are indisciplined. Fela did a song about it.
Yes.
And the offshoot was that, which is another good reason why people should actually speak up. From that song, it was like, okay, it's true. You shouldn't call your people indisciplined. So let's form an organization that encourages them to be disciplined.
But on that, while I agree, you don't call your people indisciplined. You don't say your people are indisciplined. But I also remember Chief Ebenezer Obey doing a song about war against indiscipline. War against indiscipline. Let us be orderly. So it's a function of perspective.
Well, yes.
It's coming to why you are here. We've been citing examples of musicians doing stuff, but land on that issue.
Okay, but you see, it is now a case of the hypocrisy that I mentioned. The hypocrisy is so strong that if government actually now says, don't do this, spraying of money is showing ostentatious living as well. Yeah. And so, though I know some band members won't like that. But the point is, one of the reasons to MAMSA, the E in MAMSA, was economic development and growth.
Yeah.
So what are the things that create economic development? One is tourism. One is tourism. One is conference tourism as well. You notice that when you promote the things that you have, Nigerians pay so much money to go to India. How did we know that India has that kind of thing? They were promoting it. Our National Orientation Agency is supposed to work. Back then, MAMSA had an office in every... Yeah, MAMSA has an office in every part of the country.
They still do.
NOA
still do.
But you see, how effective is an agency that is not funded properly and does not even have priority in the front of, in the Council of State? They don't see that there's need for that agency to speak to ethnicity, to speak to unity, to speak to the mineral resources that we have, to speak to the languages. For instance, there's an advert that is going on now. The public awareness of carrying too much cash on you. They did it in Igbo, did it in Hausa, and did it in Yoruba. Now, they did it in Hausa and did it. So the grassroots has to be involved in any orientation agency thing that you're doing. Radio jingles, newspaper adverts. The achievements of this country need to... When this Amosun lady was winning prizes and everything, you are supposed to now trickle that down to people, and then National Orientation Agency will be like, there's so many more of you that can become Amosun. Did you see any advert or any jingle from the National Orientation Agency about that, inspiring young ones to think like Amosun? No.
Amosun.
No. Now, patriotism, you have people, places, and then business opportunities. How many of the business opportunities that are in Nigeria have the National Orientation Agency mentioned to people and say, there are opportunities here. You don't have to go, all of you don't have to go into music.
Organizations that the nation can be proud of.
Exactly.
The way America is proud of Ford, Chevrolet, and the rest of them.
Right point. Movies. How many times has the National Orientation Agency called movie producers and say, we will give you
X.
2 million naira to make sure that one of the virtues and values of this country are projected in your movies?
The ones that are in the Constitution.
Exactly. But we don't have that kind of thing. The other thing is, you have British Council that does the same thing for American government. They used to have USIS.
British government.
Exactly. For the British government, you used to have
USIS.
Now, US government used to have the USIS. Now it's the public awareness arm that they have. It is important for all of this to be galvanized towards making sure that people are aware, people are proud, people are conscious of their own responsibilities. Once the policy is out, the National Orientation takes it and runs with it. What are the engagements that the National Orientation Agency has? So I was talking with Baba yesterday.
And one of them?
Obasanjo.
Okay.
I was talking with him yesterday, and he said, morale is low amongst Nigerians. He's not even talking, morale is low is something that the military always, the military always say. They tell commandant that morale is low. Commandant will be like, morale is low. Okay, let's ginger you guys up. Let's dance, let's run around, let's do some exercises, and they chant, all of that. What are we doing to build morale? What are we doing to correct? For instance, people are complaining, and the next thing you are sending well wishes to emails. Okay, no, let's. but that is the thing that we're saying. When morale is low, you do things that make people believe in your cause and the objectives of the country. When you have, for instance, the National Orientation Agency should have taken the idea of change of currency and pushed it for about like 2-3 months before it hits the people.
What's interesting, Ali, is that when Mamsa was prominent with those things, musicians took them by themselves.
Yes, exactly.
They didn't need conversation with government.
They didn't need to be spoken to.
They didn't need to be spoken to. Every time the woman who is the federal commissioner in charge of MPC in Lagos, every time she came here, I always reminded her that when we're talking about census, I always reminded her that Kolinti Anyela, a Fuji musician, did a song for census.
Do you know that Sonia Ade and Onyeka did a song? Having children.
Yes, wait for me.
Joko. You go feed them, give them love too. If you never ready to carry the load, why put them for another person head? Because that's what's happening in the society now.
At the time, that was even more prominent then, because that was about the same time they were promoting, whatever against AIDS and protection. Anyway, we'll come to more of that. But Dr. Salau, let's speak about how national orientation can be championed through education. Ali Baba and I mean, it's something you also know. The young people in Nigeria are the most populous in the country, the most populous demographic in the country. More than 60% of them are in Nigeria. The development world, and including Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, called it the youth bulge. They are not a burden. They are benefits. They are an opportunity. And they don't have patience anymore. They have lost trust in government. So, in what way, going forward, do you think we can galvanize these young people? Low morale, as Ali said, trust deficits, and the education space, including the teachers themselves, there is low morale. So, how do we galvanize the people who will speak to these young people and the young people themselves to believe in any national orientation theologies for national development?
Make sure that yes,
Go ahead, Dr. Salau.
Yes, it's a mindset thing. So there needs to be a lot of orientation around changing the mindsets of our youth And also, as the adults, we also need to encourage them too. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but it can be done. I believe I was listening to the story of South Korea the other day. Yes, of course. And in the 60s and the 70s, they were just where we were. And here they are today now. They are the forerunner of a lot of technology. When you look at chip technology, they are in charge. Pretty much how many of us all have Samsung phones? I mean, I could go on and on. But what changed, and I know I'm going back to what Ali Baba said, to some degree, that leadership too has to drive us. But I'm also of that belief that we are also leaders in our own right, and I'll come to that. So for us, government, yes, there needs to be that orientation in the classrooms, correct, I agree. There needs to be that thing about mindset and creating that vision of what it is that we want this nation, which are some of the things they did in South Korea. But you know the other things they also did too. They came together collectively. For example, people didn't used to really trust the banks, but they made them bring and deposit their precious, I believe it was precious goods that they had, effects that they had, gold, things like that. They put them in the banks. And when you have collateral in the banks, you can use that to go borrow money, whatever it is you need to do. And that's how they were able to raise funds for their school. And like I said, we can see where they are now with that sacrifice that they made. So there needs to be, yes, orientation from leaders, from the schools, but there also needs to be that mindset and that vision with all of us. We need to start understanding that whether we like it or not, like you had said over and over previous, no matter where you go, you will always have an attachment to your name. Even if you do eventually get citizenship, that's issue. If you go to Britain, you're going to be a Nigerian British citizen. If you go to Canada, you're going to be a Nigerian Canadian. If you go to the US, you're going to be a Nigerian American. No matter what, you're always going to be prepared here. This is going to be your referral point. So we need to have that understanding that, guys, we're in this together. We're in this whole situation together. For better, for worse, whether we like it. Major marriage there. You're not escaping from it. No matter what, it'll always be attached to your name.
Yes, but Dr. Salau, while that is a fact of life, you are not unaware of so many people who openly, rejected Nigeria simply because of the way they have been treated at airports in different parts of the world. Yes. A few spoiling the name of a lot of so many others. That's understood.
I agree.
Yes. But where I'm going with the question, just a second. Where I'm going.
When they get to those airports,
yes.
What are you going to ask them for?
Yes.
They're still going to ask for those passports.
Yeah, I get that. But where I'm going is this. We can build from home. Even in embassies, Nigerian embassies all over the world, you are not unaware of the complaints that so many people have had about how Nigerian embassies treat Nigerians who go there. So it is not just something that happens within the confines of the nation, within the borders of Nigeria. It is something that we tend to also export. So I'm speaking particularly concerning the education bit. It's not just in the curriculum, because I know you have also spoken about a need to rejig the curriculum. It's not just in the curriculum. It's also in the people who are going to execute the curriculums, the teachers. What motivation do you think they need? That if the Federal Minister of Information and National Orientation is going to achieve anything at the federal level, there has to be that partnership with the states. So what has to happen?
What needs to happen? We'll come back again to mindset shift. There needs that, and there needs buy-in from them and from all of us. We all need to enter into this project together. And I also want to say something. Now, I was just remembering something just now, that I agree about the emphasis of the government. In fact, that's why I'm here, to also effect change as a policymaker in there. But I just remember that years ago, when I was, I would say a teenager, my dad bought this book. And the title of the book was How the Jews Influenced Hollywood. There you go. How the Jews influenced Hollywood. That's what they did. This set of people, this set of wealthy individuals, you know what they did? they used their money to influence the way America was perceived through media. And it really came into full play during the Second World War. What was the message? What were the messages that were sent over and over and over? Second World War? They are great. They are great. They are, trying to think of the word, right? I will come to me, but they can't be conquered. They are for freedom. Until today, you still hear America say that message. We're for freedom. We want freedom. We give freedom ahead. We like to liberate people, over and over. They did that. So it's not always us waiting for the government. I also want to make this clarion call to a lot of us now. That yes, the honest, a lot of it does lie with our policymakers, the people like us who are, working in that space. But at the same time, we need to start understanding that in our own homes, we also can do this work, and we need to start doing this work. I just mentioned to you that when I was in the States, when I was a teacher, I was wearing Adire, I was wearing Accra. I was quite proud of it. I was able to explain what it meant. I used to even go beyond that. During Black History Month, that's February, I used to make sure, because it's African American, and I mean African, don't forget. So I used to make sure that I always addressed our rich history here in Africa. They now brought that connection to them, the diaspora, and how we're all over the world, and how we're family. I kept doing that. Why was I able to do that? Because I came from parents who constantly drove that message. That's where I'm getting to. My parents were the ones who drove that message. It wasn't me. Remember, I was a child. And then when I was a child, I saw that being demonstrated by my parents. By the time I became an adult, I've already embraced it. I already started living that.
All right.
Yes. So parents also have their own work.
Absolutely. Well, it's in the entire education space. But let me come to you, Dr. Shobodu. So the minister has made that announcement now. We need national reorientation. What are the things that you think must happen at that top? Ali just cited the example of a senator who was gifted a drink, and I want to believe not made in Nigeria, because I don't know what whiskey will be made in Nigeria that will be worth 8 million naira. And he received it. And the pictures or the videos went so far as to have been seen by Ali and a host of Nigerians as well. So what are the things that must happen at the top to demonstrate to Nigerians that we need reorientation and we need to do it ourselves from this very moment?
Okay, I remember the example that Ali was given. I think today, based on the current exchange rate, that drink, which I think was said to be about $40,000 or 40,000 pounds, you can run the numbers now based on the current exchange rate. So it further worsens, the kind of impact that could have. I think that really one of the major disconnects over the years is that you look at that national orientation and the leader himself at the level of the presidency doesn't quite take ownership of it. Whereas that should be the person who really drives it. That is the person who needs everybody to rally behind him in order for him to be able to get his job done. Let's be clear. If there is no trust, there is no way that a leader can deliver. The leader needs to work to earn the trust of the people. One of the major problems today is there is distrust, and that is both for the current, and that has built up over the years. Government after government have failed the people. So we're making noise. We're trying to mobilize the people, and the people are wondering, okay, so who is behind this, and can we trust you?
In another 60 to 90 seconds, Dr. Shobodu, yes. You've talked about the issue of trust that we have to build. I guess that's a job for governments. How about the collaboration between federal officials and state officials to do the same thing? Correct. Because naturally, most of the time, we reference federal agencies and officials as opposed to the states. as well.
Right.
In all 36 states.
I was going to talk about that.
Okay.
Because you know, and I love the fact that you brought that up. Now, it starts, for example, at the presidency, and that, you know, at the level of the president, at the states, the governors also have to take the same responsibility. At the local governments, it has to take the same responsibility. There has to be a connection across the three levels, and each one must be doing the same thing to reinforce the national message. Okay, everyone at their levels must take responsibility for driving the message, and that includes not just speaking, but also walking the talk. You know, in all respects, because and all of that must derive from a vision. I love all the things that have been stated in the Constitution, but I think we're in a peculiar situation now. So we're not to be talking about generics. Don't come and talk to me about, you know, I love my country and all of that. Answer the question, what is in it for me? The people want to know what's in it for them. And how committed are you to delivering on that score? That's what is going to make them line up behind you. And you need them to line up behind you in order to be able to get anything done.
Okay.
You know, so the vision needs to be clearly, you know, stated within the current context, followed by education and communication, followed by empowerment. All right? Because you don't say this is what we want to do, and then you don't help them to be able to play their role. You must empower. And then, of course, you have a focus on character development. And finally, you know, you must have a framework where you can track improvements, give feedback, let the people know that we're making progress, and these are the indices, and give them an opportunity to be able to hold you accountable as well.
Well, that assignment of holding accountable belongs to us in the media, and it is also in the Constitution. I think that one is in chapter 22. I'm not very sure right now, but section 22. And let me come to you. Well, Dr. Shoburi just reminded me of that song, written by Wole Soyinka, many people don't know, and performed by Tunji Oyelano and the Benders. I love my country, I no go lie. Now inside I go live and die. When it turn me this, I twist am so. He push me, I push him, I no go. Brings to mind two things, Ali, and I'd like you to address it as much as you can within the little time that we have left. Number one is that none of these musicians waited for government to do something before they did it. A song by Idris Abdul Karim addressed philandering lecturers, titled Mr. Lecturer. A song by I've forgotten this guy's name. You know, which
a song by Sound Sultan talked about don't forget home.
Yes, Ajo Dabile and all of those things. I think this guy
Atalade, they make you not forget area.
Exactly. So what needs to happen? Those songs that you're talking about, they are few and far between today. It's always now about, beautiful, making money and all those things. Fela dedicated his entire music career to social and national orientation, political consciousness. So what needs to happen for young Nigerians who are in music and entertainment today? Even in comedy we have your guys. So what needs to happen because that is the tool that you and I and the other panelists here are talking about. What needs to happen for them to take ownership?
So what I have what we found out when we worked on the federal project on creative industry was that sometimes government tries to stifle creativity when they see creativity question integrity. Once they see that creativity is questioning integrity of the government and what government is doing, they want to stifle them. For instance, you find that the Census Board was not actually set up to make movies better. The Census Board was set up to make sure nothing criticizes government.
Nothing anti-government.
Nothing anti-government. That's what the Census Board was set up for. It wasn't the film
quality.
It's not for the film quality, not for the standards. It's just to censor. Which is what happens.
Are you sure about this? Because they're going to come for you.
Oh, yes, it's there. What is it called? Nigerian Census Board.
Film and Video Census Board.
So what is it? It's to say, oh, this can't be in this movie, this can't be in this movie, that can't be in that movie. It is not, oh, the quality of this movie is not good. You need to up it up.
It's not
story, the lyrics of your song are not. You see, you censor what is in songs and movies, but you are not doing anything to make sure that this quality increases. For instance, national integration. Back in the days, all government officials, permanent secretary, everybody used the pojo.
Yes.
Right?
It was a standard by the Gowon government.
It was standard. And at that time, money stayed back here. But right now, we're buying foreign vehicles for all our officials. If we invested the kind of money in the Nigerian-made vehicles, the company will grow. Meanwhile, other countries are coming to buy the Nigerian-made vehicles.
Including militaries from other countries.
Exactly. So the thing is, the economic growth that we're talking about, we need to patronize ourselves first. First of all, one of the things holding us back for tourism to grow in all parts of Nigeria is security. What is government doing to make sure that I can decide to go to Obudu without fear? I can decide to go to... RMD went somewhere in Ghana and he sent a video to me and said, it's a very quiet and lonely place and the stream is just flowing past the back of his room. And he said, if you try this one for worry. So we laughed. But you see, the truth is, we need to do a lot more to make sure that people buy into these things that we're talking about.
But music has played a significant role in that department.
Music has played okay, for instance, and sometimes it's not about associations. For instance, Ashake, Davido, Wizkid,
Burna Boy,
all of them are not growing because they are members of PMAN. No. I would be surprised if some of them even have membership. But you see, it is when you are doing the right thing and government is supporting you. But these people don't get supported. If Ashake or Davido wants to do a concert now and says, I need 2 billion naira from a bank, they will ask for his father's birth certificate. All right? But guess what? If he does the concert, in 2 days after the concert, the money is back in the bank. But the person that now takes a loan to bring in vehicles, import vehicles, not even export our creativity, import foreign vehicles, they will give him the 2 billion. He will bring the cars and tie them down for about another 1 year because all the cars won't be sold at the same time. But if you gave it to an artist and then he went out to do a show, he would have made the money and come back and pushed the national identity further than the person that imported vehicles.
We had that system back in time. I think it was, I don't know, one cigarette brand at the time that was doing, shows. Lekki Sunsplash was such things, and so many such things that we had at the time. And the economy stayed at home. What happened to us?
Let me mention one. The National Export Promotion Council, when Segun Awolowo was there, sponsored my event in London. And somebody said, why are you sponsoring a comedy show? And they said the comedians that will perform there are Nigerians. The musicians that will perform there are Nigerians. We're pushing the national image.
We're exporting our own.
The thing is, it is what is discouraging a lot of people from even wanting to become Nigerian players. Okwaraji died. But you see, Kanu Nwankwo, when he had the heart issue, if he were in Nigeria, playing in Nigeria, he won't make it. A foreign organization took care of the cost. So what happens is that some of these players, when they come to play, they don't play wholeheartedly, because if they break their legs, they may not even get treated. But they are covered when they are in their clubs, in the foreign clubs.
If I can ask you quickly, is the federal government or the Federal Republic of Nigeria, with its 36 states and 774 official local governments, aware of the potential of the entertainment industry in laundering the Nigerian image and identity?
Oh yes, they do. They know. For instance, Rema had made more impact in India than the High Commissioner. Rema was on stage performing to nearly 100,000 Indians. The High Commissioner to India has not met 20,000 Indians. Rema's song is on the lips of most Indians than the name of the High Commissioner. So what does that say? It's that the High Commissioner should have even just been on stage to say, thank you, Rema, and for doing us right. This is something that we've presented to you, for representing us very well. No. Instead, the people that are pushing the name of this country don't get honored. But once you play a role in politics, you get a national honor. What does that say? People who are making other people in other countries recognize Nigeria. People watch Nigerian movies and all, but you see, Nigerian movies, listen to our songs and wear our clothes. But you see, what Nigeria needs to do is do the same thing you are doing for football. You make Nigerian players go to national competition, international competitions. What do you do for the fashion industry to be represented in international organizations as well?
Why not allow them to take our beautiful designs out of the country?
Exactly. And then the other thing is that you are asking for all our artifacts that are taken outside to be brought back, to be put where? Our national museums are not set up and built in a way that it attracts even us to attend them. Do
you even know where it is? Anyway, Dr. Shobodu and Dr. Salau, 30 seconds each. Your final words. Ladies first. 30 seconds each.
All right, my final words. We're all in this together, and we all need to understand that we rise together and we fall together. Let's start working on a better Nigeria.
Dr. Shobodu.
Well, my would be to say that we need to ensure that the resources we commit to the national orientation efforts, they are supported by the actions, credible actions of leadership across the various levels.
And Dr. Oh, since they're all doctors. I think the inclusion or the highlighting of the national orientation in the ministry now will give it a lot more attention. Would also financially, the DG can then have more funds to work with, because before a government policy begins to take impact and effect, you need to sensitize the people. Let the agency, let the National Orientation Agency begin to sensitize people before you even do anything. Okay. If it is that there is going to be
Naira
change, price of fuel is going to run, you then begin to tell people why the price is going to increase.
3 to 6 months ahead.
And everybody begins to prepare and cut your coat according to your cloth first, before you then drop it and dump it on them. What we also need is, when these policies are made, don't forget that one of the things that is listed in that policy is that we must promote economic recovery.
Yeah.
The economic recovery. What are we doing to promote our national recovery? Because the dependence is still on foreign products.
It's very, very unfortunate, but hey, that's our reality, and something has to be done. Atunyota Akpobome, former head of the Federal Government Committee on the Creative Industry, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Ali Baba, just in case you don't know, Dr. Adetola Salau is former Special Assistant on Education to the Lagos State Governor, as well as Dr. Olatunji Shobodu, who is a founder and CEO of Emmet Leadership Academy. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this morning. Truly appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay, that's one down. None of this will happen without education. And that's where we're going next after this break. Do stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Let's talk about functional education and matters arising. It was Nelson Mandela who said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. The United Nations agrees with him, noting that education enables upward socioeconomic mobility and is key to escaping poverty. Education helps reduce inequalities, reach gender equality, and foster tolerance and peaceful societies. UNESCO recently disclosed that Nigeria now has 20 million out-of-school children, and that is alarming and indeed unfortunate. The UK-based NGO Save the Children previously painted a gloomy picture of the situation with its 2021 Global Childhood Report, which says Nigeria remains one of the most challenging places to be a child. The country ranks below conflict-ridden Yemen and Syria due to poverty, lack of schools, insecurity, and tradition. Public secondary and tertiary education flounder, while public tertiary institutions require funding. Let's have conversations around this and how to attain what I call functional education with Professor Florence Obi, who is Vice Chancellor, University of Calabar. She's former Deputy Vice Chancellor, academic, former Commissioner for Women Affairs and Social Development in Cross River State. She's a former board member of NUC and a Professor of Special Needs and Inclusive Education. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Prof. Quite the dossier you have, wouldn't you say? Quite the dossier.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome, ma'am. Let's begin with what you consider, having been VC, a major challenge in Nigeria's tertiary education. Well, maybe education generally you may want to speak to, and then tertiary education more specifically. That is advisable because that is, the understanding that I've had over the years is that university ought to train you to be an entrepreneur, at least to be entrepreneurial minded and not just to be seeking a white collar job. I also thought that technical education is supposed to, as well as polytechnic education, is supposed to help you in that regard. What are the challenges you would say we've had to contend with over the years in this regard?
Well, I want to agree with you on what you just said about UNESCO and what you said, your reference to Nelson Mandela. Education in our system is such that has not really been able to train our young ones and beneficiaries to be able to develop the skills that they will obtain a living after school, so that everybody looks forward to having a civil service or white-collar job. I think it's a carry-over from the days of the old, where people were just prepared for a white-collar job and then they fit into civil service. But the dynamics are actually changing, and I think that the basic challenge we are having now is inadequate funding. And let me say here that as much as it is expected that education must be adequately and properly funded, for instance, the UNESCO you referred to have rightly projected that 4 to 6% of our GDP should be on education, and that the overall public expenditure between 15 and 20% of a budget should be on education. But that is not the system in our own country. But going forward, I think that for education to be properly funded in the system, it must be paid for.
Okay. Well,
we have a scenario where we are looking up to government every day to appropriately fund education, and government keeps telling us that there is no money to properly fund education. For instance, in federal universities, aside paying of salaries and overhead or that will not actually even pay one bill, one electricity for a month, you could combine like 4 or 5 overheads for 5 months to pay electricity in a university. It's not enough to actually produce the quality of students we are looking out to. When people travel out here of our country, they pay well for education, and they really get the best. So I think it is high time for us to begin to look inwards on how we can pay for functional education.
Well, let me ask you.
I keep saying government alone cannot fund it.
Okay, great. So let me ask you, first of all, pointedly, as it stands today, particularly tertiary education, do you think we produce, do you think we give functional education that can produce productive Nigerians after a 4-year or 6-year course in the university?
Yes. Yes. I think we actually are giving functional education. If you think that the system, our product from universities are not doing well in Nigeria, just check out those who go out. They don't go out to have further education. They fit into the system and they do well. Perhaps what is our problem is the environment. The environment they come out to operate in, the fact that they lacked even space to be able to be creative. Our education is functional. Today in the university, almost every university has a very functional entrepreneurship center. And in the entrepreneurship center, students are taught functional skills, soft skills, hard skills, critical analysis skills, skills to synthesize, all sorts of skills are taught to our students.
Well, I'm not sure, Prof, that this is a fact that
if
cuts
our students
across.
are given an enabling environment, they can function.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it's a fact that many people will agree with you all across the nation for 2 reasons. Number one, we have had computer science graduates who said they never saw one computer. We've had science students who said they hardly ever visited laboratories. And I also recall, you may as well, former Minister of Labour, Dr. Christine Gege, saying that at some public forum that a good number of young graduates in Nigeria are unemployable. So if they are not employable, according to an official of the federal government at the level of a minister, would you say then that they are functional if they are not employable?
It's not everybody that is not employable, and I still believe that our education is functional. Functional in the aspect that when our graduates leave Nigeria, they do absolutely perfectly well outside.
This position you hold, ma'am,
are now coming in to recruit our graduates.
Yeah, this
meaning
position,
that they have the skills for them to be functional in a system.
Yeah,
so if you are saying that our students in Nigeria are unemployable, that has to do with what I've said earlier, that we lack enough adequate funding for us to have so much.
We'll come to that, Prof. My apologies.
I have not seen a
come back to
computer,
that.
I doubt if that student is even fair to himself.
Yes.
We have all sorts of students. Some of them are ceremonial students.
Just one second. Is this information you are giving us about functional education, about public universities or private universities? And for public universities, are you talking about federal universities or state universities?
All
of them.
We may not have 100%. Everybody who come out of the university may not have given himself up to actually acquire so much. But to generalize it and say that our educational system or Nigerian higher institution educational system is not functional, I will not agree to that.
Okay.
Both public universities, private universities, during the days of strike, 8 months of strike, I lost about 50% of my staff. I lost a lot of people going out. And even today, our staff are still being recruited. The same staff who are teaching in Federal University, in University of Calabar, are being recruited every day in other universities. So it's not about them not being able to impact the best. What I'm saying is that we are not adequately funded. We are not adequately funded. We need more funds. We need more funds. And if we are to really be adequately funded, then we should pay for it. Because that's what government is telling us, that they cannot pay for education. They cannot adequately fund education because of competing needs. So I think that we should pay. You were about narrowing into private universities where the students, they pay so much. And I think that even the federal universities, with the little we have, we are giving in our very best to form students, to produce students who go out and can hold their own anywhere in the world.
Okay. Well, Prof, I wasn't making a case for private universities, just to be clear. I'm just asking basic questions. Would you say it's because it's some private universities that pay more or public universities? I was just asking questions. So you're in the education space, so, and you have been commissioner for education, for women affairs. You've been a commissioner, so you at least will speak at fora in the government of the day when you were commissioner, where these conversations are had. Now, when you talk about improving tertiary education, more funding and all of that, you are not unaware of the acclaimed Student Loan Act and the program of the federal government now to champion this cause of students' loan being coming into fore. ASU, for instance, has said they don't agree that student loan is giving students loan is going to do much. Rather, it's probably even going to send more people out of the universities because not many people will have the courage to take it. So for you, how do you see that student loan program working? Do you think it will significantly, no, maybe not fully, but do you think it will significantly boost funding for universities?
Is that boosting funding for universities? It's rather giving the students opportunity to get loan to further their education. Now it has not taken off, but if it is properly implemented like it is in even other African countries, in Ghana, for instance, the student loan scheme is well implemented, is well thought of, and people plan very well for it. If we can plan, or especially, and it's open to every student who actually need it, I think even the fear of ASU is not about absolutely rejecting, but rather saying that those who actually may be in need of this loan may not be the ones that will access the loans. Typical of Nigeria, perhaps the loan could go to those who have even, who shouldn't ordinarily be qualified for the loan. But I think it should be well thought out and it should be well properly planned. And I think it's a good development. We should give the government the opportunity to try it. And then thereafter we know if there are challenges, if there are problems, then they refine them. I was in Ghana as a visiting scholar, and I know that students there assess student loans scheme. So why can't we try it in Nigeria? I think we should equally try it in the country.
Do you see any chance, I mean, speaking about that specifically, and I'm glad I'm really speaking to you about this because you have been Vice Chancellor of a university, so you have an idea of how it works. What are the things that you believe Nigeria should look out for, particularly? Now, there are three major stakeholders here now. One is the students who will get the loans, and they can only get a particular amount from whichever school. The second is the university system itself, which is going to give the tuition fees and all those fees that the students have to pay from that particular loan. The third are the lecturers. One of the allegations that I'm sure you are aware of is that, lecturers come up with all kinds of ways to make money by giving the students one handout or the other, which may or may not be covered in the loans that these students collect from schools, so from the federal government. So speak to each of these sectors and what the challenges or bottlenecks could be that need to be considered in the execution of this student loan program.
Well, I think I would rather look at the sustainability rather than the three issues you raised, the sustainability of the student loan program. Now, it's supposed to be a revolving loan. How are the students going to pay back this loan on graduation if there are no jobs, if the environment is not conducive for them to even create jobs for themselves, if we don't have infrastructure like for them to be able to use and create jobs? Electricity is getting, by the day, is getting more problematic, and the students would begin to think of how do we create these jobs, how do we generate the money to refund. That is actually the aspect that is worrisome to me which I think government should actually look at. Giving students maybe 3-5 years upon completion of graduation and post-NYSC to start payment. If they don't have jobs, what is the problem? But I think that a student, on the part of student, any student who gets a loan and knows that I have a loan, they will make maximum use of the loan. They will make maximum use, pay their fees. They will get more serious with their studies because they know that there's a limited time they can access this loan, and thereafter they will get out and then will be faced with repayment plan and process. So I think that they will get more serious. It will make them more studious. Yes, the lecturers, we are being accused every day that of sorting. I agree. There is a lot of manipulation, a lot of sorting in the system. But I think it's not every lecturer out there. The issue is that there are few people who are out there and ruining the name of the universities and bringing down the efforts of the majority of the lecturers who are working day and night and giving out their very best to see that the system works well. So I think that if there are measures put in place, like we are doing in our university, where we have come out with other levies that lecturers, departments and faculties can collect from the students. And when you go outside that, you get into trouble with the administration. And if universities will put in measures to checkmate all the excesses, our own excesses of some colleagues who are the bad eggs, I think that will go down well with in the system.
Well, while we're on the subject of lecturers, you are not unaware of the news about a certain lecturer in the University of Calabar, where you currently govern, a certain Cyril Ndifon who is being accused. What can you tell? Being accused of sexual harassment, and to the point that it must have been very, very embarrassing for you to even think about it. But because you govern that institution for now, what can you tell us, and how far so far?
Well, for the accusation of sexual harassment levied against one of my colleagues and the former suspended Dean of Faculty of Law, we leave that to the panel we have constituted. Yes, of course, I am aware of it, and we have given a press conference. We are putting measures, put up measures to see that going forward, such occurrences are curtailed. You can't completely eradicate sexual harassment in school. You can't eradicate that because it happens everywhere, every country, everywhere. It does happen. But the impunity, the serial abuse, the way and manner in which this is done is where it becomes a problem. And I think that in my university, we have put up so many measures that we know going forward, the Faculty of Law, nobody in the Faculty of Law will hold the students to ransom and make any female student so vulnerable to having a moral relationship with him. So we are doing so much. We, like I said, we have put about 7 committees in place. There is a committee now to assign students to supervisors, because they are accused and alleged that the suspended dean normally will want to take all the female students to supervise, and that makes them vulnerable to his advances. Now there's a committee to handle that. There is a committee to look at mobilization to law school, which students alleged in their protest letter to us that they use that as an intimidation, as a way of getting some of them to succumb, that if they don't accept, they may not be mobilized to law school. We have set up a committee to do that. There is a result vetting committee. We have also made a clean sweep in the faculty, where we have the acting dean for now, a woman, the sub-dean acting a woman, the faculty officer a woman. We want to give these students, we want to see that the students are protected, and so many other things were put in place to be sure that the students will get through this whole process. And I am accessible. My principal officers are all very accessible. And for your information, my 46,000 students all have my number. I have only one phone number, and it's available to all the students. So they have access to me, and that is why they can easily report the happenings, even in the Faculty of Law. As an administration, we have put in some checks that will make sure that going forward, that no longer, or we curtail that, really.
I really don't envy you right now. 46,000 students having your own phone number. I wonder what your WhatsApp must look like right now. But, you know, is there a role for the alumni of universities in curtailing this kind of situation and others like that? It is a little worrisome. Well, you said it's something that happens all over the place. It's still a little mysterious for me why, you know, people who are supposed to be under you, looking up to you, whose lives literally, you know, are in your hands, you know, have to be subjected to such harrowing experiences, which have scandalized so many down through the years. So is there a role for the alumni of any institution of higher learning in that regard to ensure that things go well in the universities and such things as you are having to go through now don't even come to you? The alumni can deal with it. Is there a role for them in ensuring that universities run well?
Yeah, the alumni has a role to play, but principally, the role of alumni will be based on extant laws. Now, if the president of the country will assent to the anti-sexual harassment bill that has been passed, and I think it has been passed on to him for assent, if he will assent to it, then it will help institutions at least be able to cope and be able to also deal with some of these occurrences. So I will first call on the president of the country to please do assent to that bill to protect our girl child, to protect the female students, and to protect every other student who finds him or herself in the higher institution. Now, going forward on the role of alumni, for instance, in our university, we have a very robust alumni body supported by the Endowment and Trust Fund, which is chaired by His Excellency Mr. Donald Duke, and the alumni national president, Professor Yakubu Ochefu, and the board of trustee chairman. They are all doing very well. Like we had this problem when this issue came up on the 14th of the month. Everybody called, people are worried, they have gone on air, they are making their own comments, press statements. In fact, the BOT chairman of the alumni had even threatened court action with such randy lecturers. They are all concerned. So what alumni should do is perhaps to organize more public fora, organize workshops, conferences, maybe retreats even with lecturers and even the students more, so that we can all build the confidence level of the students to say no at any time. We can all make sure that the students are properly groomed and to speak out when they think that they are threatened. And I think we make sure that we move the students from being timid to those students who can actually speak out, who are vocal, and who can say, look, I'm being harassed, and come out and speak. So what I will also ask the alumni to do is to interface with the students, to interface with the alleged abused students, so that build their confidence, so that they can come out and to the panel and present evidence and talk to the panel. That's all I can say. The alumni should do right now, outside other functions that we expect alumni to raise money to support the university.
Expectedly, Prof. But you know, I can't let you go without asking you a question, particularly around your own area of specialty. You're a professor of special needs and inclusive education. As a nation of 200 million people and 36 states, how entrenched is special needs and inclusive education?
Well, I wouldn't say it is very entrenched, I would say that it's just a new area that people are beginning to get aware of. We had come from the era where people hit their special children. They never brought them out for people to know. They never let neighbors to even know they had a special child. To the era where they can now send and dump them in special schools without even going back to look at them. To today's era where parents drive their special children to school and pick them like every other child because they are like every other child, but just with a special need. So I think that the government has gone a step further by passing the discriminatory law on disability. That law has taken effect, but as much as the law empowers people to go to court when they are discriminated against, if they are refused admission, if the school environment is not accessible to them. Also, it gave about 5 years laxitude for the institutions to actually reposition themselves to begin to take this. Today, there are many more special children, special people who are having access to education than the case some 10, 20 years ago.
Okay.
We also have many of them getting employment. So gradually, the nation is beginning to recognize their potentials, their capability, their capacity, and beginning to integrate them into the system. It's a slow process though, but yet we recognize the fact that we are not where we were some years back. We are not where we are supposed to be, but going forward, we are really moving forward and getting things done. And when we talk about inclusivity, I think that with the discriminatory law, the law that was assented to by the former president, it's actually meant to make people to be included, to an inclusive society, an inclusive environment for persons with special needs.
Well, thank you so much.
I think that they are even more vocal now. They have a better voice than in the case some years back. So I think we are moving forward.
We're moving forward. We're not where we were, but we are no longer where... We're not where we want to be, but we're not where we should be. Well, thank you so much for being here this morning. Professor Florence Obi, Vice Chancellor, University of Calabar, former Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic, a former Commissioner for Women Affairs and Social Development in Cross River State, and former board member of the NUC, Nigeria Universities Commission. She's also a professor of special needs and inclusive education. Thank you so much for your time and your perspectives this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So Sunrise is back in a moment to talk about tech. What department? You've got to wait. We'll be back. Well, thank you so much for staying with us. Let's talk about tech use in downstream oil and gas sector. ePump represents a comprehensive, automated and seamlessly integrated solution tailored for fuel station owners and management. The innovative solution is designed to empower station owners with the tools necessary to fully capitalize on their business potential. By providing remote monitoring and control capabilities over day-to-day transactions at the stations, ePump effectively alleviates the challenges and burdens typically linked with managing fuel stations. Someone is wondering, what's he talking about? I'm not the one that's going to give you the details. Ayodeji Ogundiran is CEO of Fuel Metrics Limited, a dynamic technology company specializing in the downstream oil and gas domain. At the forefront of their innovation stands ePump, the flagship product of Fuel Metrics Limited. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, let's begin with the regulation of the downstream sector. I mean, that's been conversation for over the years.
Yep.
How helpful would you say it has been?
You mean the impact of the deregulation?
Yes.
Okay, so the deregulation has been a good development for the country, but for the people, we must admit that it's a bit hard on us.
Okay.
Right? So,
are you one of us?
Of course, I'm one of the people.
Just saying. Okay. But are we fully deregulated?
Well, those conversations are a bit tricky.
So let's leave it. Yeah. No tricks. So now, how would you How have you personally been affected by this change?
Oh, so if I used to buy fuel, if I used to spend X amount on fuel monthly before, suddenly I find myself spending X times 3. So in the faces of the economic reality, everyone, as long as you're driving a car, you are affected.
But, you know, I mean, you're an expert in the industry, so you understand the dynamics of the sector. What effects do you believe the deregulation has imposed on fuel station operations?
Oh, okay. So on their bottom line, there's been 3 main impacts caused by this deregulation. If you used to a truck that cost you 6 million naira to lift from depot before suddenly starts costing you 18 million naira plus, meaning you're now spending times 3. Your working capital requirement has suddenly shot up by multiples of 3. That's one impact for them. Another impact is while we may argue that they are making more profits per liter, but if you consider that profit as a ratio of what their working capital is, what they are saying is that their gross margin has actually gone down by as much as 33%. So if you used to make 1.5% on a liter of PMS before, now you're making less than 1%. So and you're spending more to stock those stations. The third impact on their bottom line is, as we can see, as we can observe, the sales volumes have dropped because lesser people are driving, people are buying lesser fuel than they used to buy. So those are 3 impacts for them. There's one other silent impact. Today, prices can change just like that. The effect of the regulation. So if you're not careful and you don't have the right technology in place to be able to respond to these changes, you might find yourself selling at a loss or selling higher than people are willing to buy, which means you're going to lose sales. So there's a lot of those dynamics affecting the business of the operators of the industry.
So then what suggestions would you offer as potential remedies for these challenges you've highlighted?
Yes, the industry has a lot of blind spots. If you look at how they operate from when you lift product at the depot till when you sell that product to the consumer, right? There's a lot of black spots, and marketers need to eliminate those black spots using technology.
What are some of these black spots?
So
if you don't mind?
let's start from when you lift product from the depot. It's not uncommon for you to lift 35,000 liters from the depot, and when you are discharging at the station, you're getting 34,500, 34,300, meaning you've lost some volume. That's one. 2, today, 95% of the filling stations depend on manual reports. Someone has to tell them manually that this is what we sold in a day, with no way of them verifying until maybe after a month they say let's do audit, or 6 months, or in some cases years. They say let's do audit, and then they start finding a lot of gaps that has accumulated over the years, which has resulted in millions of losses for them. Right? The third is around their payment infrastructure. It's one thing for me to acknowledge that I sold 10,000 liters of product. It's another thing for me to be able to trace the amount, the money made from that payment to my bank account. Right? So today it's not the reality for them. So there's blind spot on logistics, there's blind spot on sales, there's blind spot on payment. Those are things that they need to eliminate with the use of technology.
Okay, so to what extent will technology shape the trajectory of Nigeria's downstream oil and gas sector?
Okay, the trajectory is changing on its own, right? With the deregulation, business is not as it used to be anymore.
It's no longer business as usual.
It's no longer business as usual. For some station, you are depending on the fact that the nearest station to me has a lot of queue, so people would not want to stay on that queue. That's why they're coming to buy from me. That station no longer has queues. So it means if you're not careful, your volume is going to drop significantly. Volumes are dropping across board, right, for every station. But beyond the volume drops across board is that there's volume shift as well, right? We are going to move, we as a consumer, we are going to move from stations who are inefficient, right? Either you cannot control the integrity of your station, your manager, your pump, or whatever it is. You cannot control your pricing. You have losses that you're trying to make up in other ways. What's going to happen is if you're not careful, you're going to lose the entire market. And even your capital becomes capital at risk. So what technology can do is to make you remain competitive in the face of all those changes. Make sure that, okay, while people are buying less, people are buying from me. Whatever volume I'm selling, I'm not incurring losses due to inefficiencies. I'm not depending on outdated approach of doing things. Yes, we've been doing it that way for decades, but it doesn't mean that we have to continue to do it that way. Today, technology is changing everything. Technology means I can be anywhere in any part of the world, and I know exactly what's going on in my filling station. I know what volume I'm selling. I know how much money I'm making. I know what portion of my sales is coming from cash, what portion is coming via POS. If I have retainer customer, how much of those sales am I making? Another thing that's going to change is how we make payments at the gas stations. December last year, earlier part of this year, when there was scarcity of cash, queue in station, you could see you go to some stations, you want to pay cash. Of course, you don't have cash because there was cash scarcity. You want to use your card, banks were overwhelmed, and then a lot of transactions were not going through. So it means people were stranded. They had money, but they couldn't buy fuel. Stations need to live up to modern reality, expose new means of payment. There's a concept of automated fuel cards. It's not alien, but it's practically still new in Nigeria. Stations need to embrace more of those kind of technology. Self-service should be encouraged, right? Perhaps I can drop my cost per liter by 50 kobo, by 1 naira, by simply allowing people to serve themselves. These are areas that technology can play in transforming the landscape.
So is that, I assume that's what e-pump is about. So in what ways is e-pump addressing the technological disparities for the downstream sector business in Nigeria, as you have highlighted?
Okay, so e-pump is a technology product that was developed after extensive R&D, considering the local environment. It's one thing for you to say, I can import technology, I see them in movies, or when I travel, I see how they operate out there and try to import those technologies. Those technologies were built not with you in mind. E-pump was built for the African environment in mind. So all of what we've discussed, if I'm lifting product from depot, how do I ensure I get the accurate volume at my station? When that product is discharging through my underground tank, how do I have visibility in real time to know this is my inventory, this is what I have in tank, no one is siphoning from it, my tanks are not leaking, my products are not disappearing, right? How do I know in real time how much volume I've sold? Do I have to wait until someone puts number? I mean, imagine, let me walk us through the journey a bit. If you have one filling station, and maybe you're a retiree and this is your full-time business, then you can make the argument and say, well, I'm at the station, I know what's going on from morning to night, but that's usually not the case. Usually you have multiple stations. You have 5, you have 100, you have 300 stations, right? It means that you cannot be there round the clock by yourself. So you're going to hire people. People want to make more money for themselves when they have the opportunity, right? If you don't have a technology that can give you that confidence to know what's going on in your station, you are going to be dealing with wrong input. And you know, there's something about when you are computing your profit, it's garbage in, garbage out. If I've fed you with false information, all your computations are going to be false. E-pump gives you that reliability of not having to depend on the human element. The equipment in your station are communicating directly with you. You can be in the United States, you can be in Kenya. Just bring out your phone, you know, okay, this is how much I've sold, this is how much I have left in my tank, this is where my money is. Every day, by 7 a.m., you know, I mean, it sends you an automatic email telling you, oh, this is what you sold yesterday, this is what you have left in your tank. From what you sold, this is where the money is. This is the question you should ask. These pumps have not been performing well.
Okay.
In summary, it's about efficiency.
Okay. How does it work? And is it foolproof?
Yes. On the pump side, we install Internet of Things, IoT gadgets into the pumps. Those devices are communicating with the pump. They are practically the ones authorizing the pump to do every transaction. So for every liter that I dispense, they are capturing those information and storing it.
So somebody doesn't need to come with pen and paper to be writing out.
In fact, when it's installed, you as the attendant, you as the manager, it's installed in a part that you naturally do not have any business with. You will not be opening the inside of the pump and when you decide you want to go an extra length to tamper it, there's a notification that says, oh, so pump in so stations have been tampered with. So you're no longer getting visibility. And then, of course, you can start investigating why was it tampered with, because a notification was sent out to you. So it's not waiting until someone comes and says, this is how much we sold. It's telling you, it's reading it in real time, and it's making it available for you anywhere you are. So you don't need to be in the station. You don't need to be omnipresent. You don't need to be...
So that's for the fuel station?
Yeah, that's for the fuel station.
How about the other places? Is there any device in the tank?
Yes,
Is there any device in the supplying tanker?
Okay, so I mean, technologies are available for every line,
everything,
from end to end, right? But some part of it might be pricey, some might be more efficient than the others. The most efficient today in filling station operation is automate your pumps, know what your pumps are saying, automate your tanks, know what your inventories are, automate your process.
So we don't need to dip that long.
Oh, no. So you do not need to pick that manual dipping that you take first thing in the morning and last thing at night. What is there is that an automatic tank gauge has been installed in your tank, and this is taking that dipping every minute. No longer about morning and night. So when things go wrong, you can actually investigate at what time of the day did it go wrong.
Okay, so how about the ones that supply you tank? I mean, you talked about getting 35,000 or 30,000 whatever liters from the depot, and then you're getting 30 or 32,000 liters a day. How does that?
So that aspect of the business is one aspect that brings argument between the drivers and the stations a lot.
Especially when the tank is not leaking.
Yes. Most times the tank is not leaking, to be honest. The tank is not leaking.
Otherwise there'll be explosions everywhere.
Of course, the tanks are not leaking. So the first thing is, so when you lift product from the depot, the moment you lift it from wherever the depot is till it arrives, the only thing we have today is we can probably track location, which is what most people do. They track location of the truck. Now they are doing what we call gravity discharge at the station, right? Meaning when I'm discharging, there's nothing measuring what is coming out of the truck. It's just flowing in. So I measure what's in the tank, I measure that's in the truck, I measure what's in the underground tank, and that's what I'm reconciling. Outside Africa, you hardly find that. You are doing metered discharge. So if this tanker has brought product and it has a meter fitted on it, if I'm discharging 33,000, the meter on it is going to read 33,000. If you're going to have an argument, you're going to be having an argument about what the calibration of this your meter. And that is easy to investigate because we have what we call the measuring can. I just bring in a can and I show you, oh, no, when I filled in 50 liters, when your meter said it's 50 liters, what came into my can is 45 liters, it's 48 liters, meaning something is wrong. Before you even discharge the rest, we need to correct that. Once that is corrected, then we can be certain that when you say you discharge 45,000 liters into my tank, you actually discharge 45,000 liters into my tank. And with that, you'd have caught a lot of those arguments, a lot of, no, I discharge 43,000, no, you discharge 45,000, because everybody has visibility. And those things are also automatable, meaning I can actually be in the comfort of my room anywhere in the world, and I know what that tank discharged, and I can tell you for a fact that this is what you discharged, and you the driver, you know yourself, so there's not going to be a basis of argument.
So let me ask you again, is it foolproof? I mean, you tried to answer it the other time, but I would like you to expatiate on it.
Yes, so they're largely foolproof, right? But as with every technology, things change, things evolve. What companies like ePump, Fuelmetrics, what we do is we're also monitoring to see if people are devising new means of trying to work around these systems. And if we detect that, of course, we are correcting, we are alerting. But you know what? Not having data at all is a worse place to be. Okay. And that is where most people are today.
Wow. You talked about IoT.
Yeah.
Internet.
Yeah.
And how does it work? Because, I understand, I get the fact that, the device has to be internet enabled and all of that, but power outage, network issues and all those things, how is the circumvention?
Okay, so first and foremost, let's address power outage. Stations don't work when there's no power because they require power to put the pump up, right? Yeah. So you don't have concern about power outage. The devices are feeding from the power of the pump, meaning when the pumps are on, those devices are on automatically as well.
Does it store data?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going that next.
Okay.
for every transaction it captures on the pump, it's stored locally, first locally on the device before being synchronized to the cloud, right? Implication of that is if there's network outage, those transactions are not lost. They are simply stored on the devices. And the moment internet is restored, they are all synchronized. The devices can hold transaction for up to 90 days. Right?
Like our biometric machines for the elections.
Well, I don't know.
Beavers. Okay, go.
I don't know about the beavers, but I know about EPOM, right? EPOM will store transactions for 90 days. So it means that even if I lose visibility for a while, it's temporal. Once network is restored, everything is synchronized back. So I really have nothing to worry about as a station.
So no transaction happens without power. And so long as the transactions are happening, data is being collected.
That's correct.
And none of it is lost whenever there is power outage.
No.
None of it is lost whenever there is no internet service.
No.
So what happens if there is internet outage and, the pump is dispensing, for instance?
No. So the devices don't require internet to make the pump dispense.
Okay. All right.
Right. So, but let me speak to one other aspect of EPOM. Today, if you have, let's say 50 stations and there's a price change, typically you would send engineers across those stations to go change those prices. Some say their manager should do it, which is more dangerous in itself. But the more efficient companies will tell you, engineers are going around the stations to change it. It was efficient in those days when we have price change once in 6 months, once in a year. But today you can have it. There was a week, there was price change thrice in that single week. Are you going to send engineers across 50 stations distributed around the country 3 times in 1 week? But with technology, I can change 10 times in a day. And that can make me competitive.
Automatically?
Yes, because on my phone, if I say change the price of this pump to so amount, within 1 minute, regardless of the number of stations I have, all the pumps are going to pick the new prices.
But don't forget that you could have different prices in different states. Right?
Oh, I can group my stations in state and say I want also price for Lagos, also price for Oyo State, also price for Kano State. I have that flexibility, and I can pinpoint and say, okay, I'm not changing everyone else. I'm only changing this particular station.
Please don't change Lagos. Well, we can only wish you the best. This has been very, very enlightening, and we can just trust and expect that. First of all, Nigerians are better served. For me, that's the important thing. Does it also help in accurate measurement of liters of fuel that go into tanks? There are allegations in some quarters that certain fuel stations sell the liters shorter than the normal. Does it also help with that?
So, yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no in the sense that there's between the station management and the driver, there are quite a number of players involved. Right? There's a dealer who owns the station. There's a manager who is hired to run the station. There's the attendant who is standing by the station. If you're chauffeur driven, there's your driver who is buying fuel before it gets to you. Right? Now, if any of these players that I mentioned were to play foul, guess what we are going to say? Guess who everybody's going to blame it on?
The fuel tank.
It's on the meters.
Yes.
Right? But the reality is that it's not every time it's coming from the meters according to the management. But because, like I said before, the managements are blind to the operations of what's going on in their station, they cannot tell. Right? And once EPOM is installed, it means they are no longer blind. Right? So the manager, the attendant, and every other player lose incentive to say, I'm adjusting the pump by myself. Right? Now, that now speaks to the customer. When you're buying fuel with cash or you're using POS, what you're doing is you're doing a disconnected transaction. There's nothing linking your payment with the fuel you're purchasing. Right? And that's where automated fuel cards come in. When I use automated fuel cards, I take away that power from all of the players, from my driver, from the attendant, from the manager, meaning I'm going to get what the management is actually dispensing. Let's face it, management are more, the integrity of management vary from company to company. However, but it's a better place to be than having everybody rip you off along the value chain.
Well, I have to thank you very much for being here this morning. This is very, very enlightening. Ayodeji Ogundiran is CEO of Fuel Metrics Limited, a dynamic technology company specializing in the downstream oil and gas domain. At the forefront of their innovation stands EPOM, the flagship product of the organization called Fuel Metrics Limited. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
And all the best.
Thank you.
So we're back right after now to take on, well, you know, he just talked now about the likelihood of self-service. Let's talk about self-medication and lifestyle when we return. Let's talk about self-medication this morning. It is something that's not everybody is unaware of, but hey, it is a problem that we have been dealing with, you know, down through the ages in the lives of every one of us who is listening and watching right now. Merriam-Webster describes self-medication as an act or process of medicating oneself, especially without the advice of a physician, also known as self-treatment. For chronic coughs, self-medication with cough remedies is usually inappropriate, and most doctors discourage their use. That's just one example. Let's have this conversation this morning with Yonda Beniga, who is our lifestyle doctor. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. It's a pleasure.
How bad is that situation that we just talked about?
Well, I think it's really prevalent of people across board, across the countries of the world. It's not a Nigerian thing. It's across board that people are trying to self-medicate. Now, a lot of things ensure that situation, ensured its prevalence. You know, people are trying to avoid the cost of having to go see a physician, checking in the hospital. They feel I'm intelligent enough to know the symptoms of my body, the signals of my body, and so I should just go ahead and hit myself with whatever I think it's appropriate. I said think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, think.
Okay. Now, there's those who, I mean, you've probably just cited one reason for self-medicating. There are those who cite all kinds of reasons why people self-medicate. Any particular reason, or is just something that people do because they can?
Okay, so I think it's more of I understand how my body is, and I think this is what I need. And most times you do that, people get it wrong. You know, there's the other option of, I don't want to drive down to a center, I don't want to talk to anyone, I think it's my beats, I can handle it. But I always want to give this example, you know, there are many conditions, many health conditions, lifestyle diseases, even chronic conditions, show symptoms that are basically the same. I'll give an example. Someone that has an ulcer and someone that has gastritis. Gastritis means stomach itis. Itis is inflammation, gastro is stomach, so gastritis and ulcer. Now, both conditions are occurring in the stomach, but gastritis is inflammation of the stomach. Ulcer is there's an injury, there's a peel, and maybe hydrochloric acid or something is landing on that spot, and the person is having pains. Inflammation, the whole stomach is on fire for one reason or the other. And also can be caused by what we call H. pylori burrowing into the walls of the stomach and peeling that stuff, or maybe just plain not eating. You know, so you have both symptoms as, oh, my tummy, stomach pain and all that. And you sit, someone just goes to the counter and says, oh, my tummy is aching me, and starts to treat. Now, you would keep on treating, but the bacteria, H. pylori, that causes that ulcer will still be having a field day, and you would not get it right. So you can't just self-medicate, especially you need someone to guide you. You need to run tests. You need to know what exactly is the issue. You know, some countries are saying, I read up an article this morning on PubMed that said, yeah, some countries, I think in saner climes are like, okay, you can responsibly self-medicate. Yeah, to an extent, like maybe a headache and something very drastic, just to shut it down before you go seek a doctor or someone who can attend to you. But you know, it's not supposed to be the
norm.
Yeah, the norm. Like, because in that condition I gave, that ulcer, you could continue to treat it, and the bacteria that is causing it is there. It's not being identified. As long as you continue to take antacids, continue to take bicarbonates or whatever it is you're taking, that guy is still there playing and having a field day. And the treatment would never work.
You know, I'm on a website now. I don't even know what the name of the website is. Forgive me. Okay, so Aspen Ridge Recovery Centers lists 12 causes of self-medication and why people self-medicate. It says 52 million Americans, or 18.5% of the population over the age of 12, have deliberately misused prescription drugs. And he lists self-medication as attempting to deal with past trauma, addressing social anxiety, boredom, change in certain habits, or deliberately influence moods, coping mechanism for mental health conditions, cost of healthcare or substance abuse treatments, dealing with relationship issues, fitting in or peer pressure, influence sleep patterns, maintaining performance for jobs, a stigma surrounding mental health or substance abuse, and trying to navigate life's pressures and hardships. This sounds to me that it is possible for people to self-medicate and not even know.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So because people are dealing with a lot of health challenges across board, mental health issues, just plain pain. So you're thinking, I want to deal with this, and you are thinking the next thing I should do is get to the shelf and pick medication. This even occurs in the supplement sessions too. This is not only drugs, it's across board. Even people who are good in herbs and all that, they still do this abuse. And the unfortunate thing is, I've always been an advocate of checks. If you have been prescribed this medication or this supplement or this whatever it is you've been prescribed, you need, when that tenor of what you've been given has exhausted, you need to go back and get yourself checked and tested. If the disease has progressed or it has regressed, if it has progressed, then you need probably a higher dosing. Or if it has regressed, then you need something lower. So you always need that check. You always need to talk to someone who is enlightened about that medication that you're using.
It also looks like people they may not even know the ways in which they self-medicate. There are different forms. According to Healthline, so we can self-medicate with food, self-medicate with alcohol, self-medicate with psychostimulants, with caffeine, with cannabis. I don't know what you want to say about these. I know that you're going to tell us, moderacy is but sometimes you don't even know the limits, do you?
Okay, so the thing about, I've seen a lot of abuse. In short, I think people are even more cautious with drug abuse and even supplement abuse.
Oh. Because you don't know that that's also medication, right?
Yeah, but it does have its effects in, there are pharmacokinetical interactions.
Speak English, please.
Pharmacokinetics interactions of those drugs, meaning how they interact. You're currently on a medication, you're taking a supplement, and maybe you're on a blood thinner, and then you're taking some supplements that could also thin your blood, or you are on high blood pressure medication, and you're also on supplements that could help you drop your blood pressure naturally. Okay. I've seen a situation where someone, and I was like, what are you doing? Mixing both? And she had hypertension, so we had what are you trying to do? You have to decide. That's like an abuse, actually. Okay. So some people are doing that because they want to have super effects. they want to have the super effects. You can't do that. You can't put yourself on that heavy dosing, because one will work naturally, go into the body and help you normalize. The other will go in and shut down pathways, and you have a double whammy.
Let's explore that a little further. So there is the standard, pharmaceuticals that people use, and then there are supplements that are supposed to do pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Do you think people know the difference?
So I found out that people don't particularly know the difference. Another thing I would even talk about, I don't know, my mind goes a lot to the supplement. You have people who are downing supplements and are going, this is not working, this is not working. There's some supplements that the bioavailability it can be enhanced. Bioavailability means it's in the blood, okay, but it's not very available for utilization. It's not getting into the cells. Okay, yes. So you do a blood test and wow, it's in your blood, but the cells that need it don't get it. Okay, so yeah.
How does that happen?
It does happen. You could have some that are hydrophilic, hydrophobic, hydrophilic, water-loving, water-hating. Some are oil-based and all that. Some are not even bioavailable unless you take something. That's why I've always said that you can't just take things. You're taking it and you're like, this thing doesn't work, but it's in the bloodstream, it's not getting into the cell because you're not using it in the right combination. There's some that are enhanced by your fat intake. There are some that you need a lot of water to get it active. Same for medications. There are some medications that, if you take this and this together would cause a whole lot of problems.
So what many people don't know.
Yeah, so that's one other thing I was going to say, that when you get either a supplement or you get a medication, there's something in that medication that is called a pamphlet. It will tell you the contraindications, it will tell you the side effects, it will tell you the pharmacokinetics of the medication.
People don't want us to read that thing. It's usually very small, like size 4 fonts or size 8
there
fonts.
for you to read.
For you to not read. That's
a caveat emptor.
You see, it's so tiny, people can hardly see these fonts. And you expect us to squint and look at them? Come on, I'm using glasses.
Use a magnifying lens. Because you need to read it actually. Sometimes you see those side effects can exacerbate your condition or can ameliorate it, whichever one. So you have to take informed decision. That's why that whole problem of self-medication is terrible, because your doctor or whoever is consulting for you knows that at a certain time you're supposed to stop this medication. This thing is supposed to be for only 3 days and you do it for 90 days. Now, it's like, I'll give another example. It's like adrenaline. You see a lion come into the room now and we all take off. That hormone is released into our body as a flight and flee response hormone. As long as you have that thing, so it empowers you to see a lion and jump over the fence and take off. But it's not there for you to have it constantly in your bloodstream, flowing consistently. It comes in rage, anger, or when you are fighting, or sustained or prolonged anger. Now it stays in the body and starts to damage the cells because it's a flight and flee hormone. That's the same thing when you take things that are supposed to be for 3 days and then you take it for 90 days. It stays, it's done its work, and then it starts to do damage. So the adrenaline is there, it starts to cortisol, the same for the hormone that is released when you are under so much stress. That's cortisol. It stays, constricts your blood vessel, because it's done its work of constricting so that oxygen is pumped and you're able to jump over the fence. But you're still angry anyway, so the blood vessel remains constricted, and then heart is still pumping normally, the passage for blood to flow is reduced, then the pressure goes up, blood pressure goes up, and the heart is beating very fast. So things like that, stress, adrenaline, things that make you fidget are not supposed to be in the body long term. And there are some medications also like that are not supposed to be in the body long term.
What you just said now reminds me of something that I saw on Twitter in the course of the week. Someone was complaining about what they call energy drinks or something like that, and that that this fellow, and it was quite a thread of people talking about it, that for whatever reason they fell sick from taking them on a sustained level. And first place, I never even had an idea of what it was, but is that the part of, because, part of what we also saw on Healthline just now is that people self-medicate even drinks,
yes,
such as this. Some self-medicate with alcohol without even knowing that it is self-medication.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I think my job is to just elucidate or elaborate on the effects of what they're doing, and then the decision is actually theirs. Okay, so when you have a stimulant, maybe an energy drink or something to stimulate you, you need to look at what is the active ingredient in that drink or in the alcohol, whatever it is you're taking. If you check out the active ingredients, go online, check for the side effects of it, check for the effects of it on your body, on the brain, on your muscles, on your heart, on the kidneys. So you know the effect of what it is you're doing. If you're taking so much sweetened drinks or caffeinated drinks or acidic drinks, in either way, taking it as an antidepressant, you're depressed, that's why you're on alcohol or you're on sweet drinks or you're on stimulants or energy drinks or boosters. Now, what are the side effects? You're putting a lot of pressure on your kidneys. The kidney's job is to filter acids. So it filters the first set you put in, you put another one because you are self-medicating on your drinks or your stimulants or whatever it is. It filters it, you put in another one, it filters it. After a while, it stops filtering very well. It just has, I jokingly say that it has this idea that, like, you really want me to retain some acids inside me. So it starts to retain some. It retains them in the kidneys, pouches here of acids in the kidney. It's called uric acid. Retains some here, retains another pouch here, retains another pouch, and they form what we call calculi. That's stones. Meaning, because there's no sun to evaporate them anyway, so the acid gathers, uric acid gathers around that kidney and gradually starts to form stones. And then stones, and then kidney stones. And so you will want to check out the effect of those drinks on whatever kind of drink it is, alcohol, whatever it is, on your kidneys. Because the guy who is going to filter any fluid that you put in is the kidney. And of course, if there are other active ingredients there, the next guy, when he finishes filtering or before, who would work on it, who metabolizes. Metabolism is called breakdown. Okay, who does the breakdown is the liver. So you're putting so much stress on the liver with all the self-medications because that guy is the one who will process it. And that's why we always say, the first thing you should do is to go for a clean out, like a detox, because you put those two guys under pressure.
How do you self-medicate with food?
Well, some people binge eat because they want to lose weight, anorexia. I want to be Miss World, so you undereat, and then you have the stomach is empty.
It will come for you. You are saying it's only women that self-medicate.
Then, okay, I once had a friend who will say, when I'm depressed, I eat a lot. And then she goes fat. Or she goes, she says, when I'm stressed, I eat a lot. Yeah, so she just sees burgers, whatever it is, and she eats. So when she's under a lot of pressure, you see her getting fat. Yeah, that's food self-medication. So I think it's important that we put some checks and balances to it. When we need help, we should really get help.
It's interesting that you talked about self-medicating with food in that way, because according to Healthline here, one of the risks of self-medicating with food is decreased self-esteem and worsened depression symptoms. So while you are eating because you are stressed, you are also...
Getting fat. I spoke English.
So help us look for solutions, and possibly maybe I should use alternatives. We've had a psychologist here tell us that this whole thing is about perspectives. It's about what people see or decide to see. If they do not see an alternative or get an alternative to whatever it is that they do, that's the way they will go. But before you go there, help us understand. For pharmaceuticals and maybe even supplements, in some pharmacies and wherever, they have grades for medications. There are those they call OTCs, and there are those that are not OTCs. OTCs are over-the-counters that you can just pick, just as you said, painkillers and the rest. But then there are those that are not to be given to anyone unless you have a prescription.
Yeah.
Now, help us understand the challenges we have with that in our climate. I've gone to a pharmacy before to get a particular medication that was recommended to me. But because I didn't have my medication at the time, I went to this particular pharmacy. They said, no, I need to come with the, what's it called?
Prescription.
The prescription. Said, hey, I'm here with you in this city. My medication, my whatever it is in another city. Said, no, I had to come with it that day.
So across the world, the classification for OTC and prescription medications are quite different.
Okay.
So in some countries, you have some medications are on prescription and some are OTC. But I think in the third world countries, those laws are a little bit lax. Okay, so you get easier access in third world countries. But the truth is, there should actually be some guidelines. If you're...
Sorry, my apologies for butting in. It actually happened in Nigeria. Both cities are in Nigeria. That's what you will find interesting. Well, maybe because, of the kind of whichever pharmacy or whoever the pharmacist was said, no, you have to come with your... And they are common drugs, but I thought, hey, it's on everybody's lips. Why do I have to come with a prescription?
That's the point, that the regulations are a bit lax across different climes. Yeah. Even within the country, there are some... Look, you could go to a chemist shop and you could go to a pharmacy.
Oh.
So it's a bit hard to enforce those laws. And like you said, perspective is needed. You need to understand your body. You need to understand what is being treated. And you should always be in close contact with your doctor or whoever is prescribing those medications for you. You didn't have the prescription, they were not going to give it to you because they don't know if you want to self-medicate or you want to abuse, and it's your word against theirs, So I've always been, but generally, I continue to be an advocate of get tested, know what is up, know where you are on the health curve. Where are you? You've been on this thing for 3 days or 15 days or 90 days. Where are you on the health curve? Do you need it reduced so that you have less stress on your kidneys and your liver, or should you increase the dose? Dosing, timing, checks are always very important.
You just spoke to something that I consider very, very important now. Because once certain people get a particular medication, it is good for me. That's it.
No.
For the rest of their lives.
No.
So going beyond the prescription is self-medicating.
So for every physician already knows how long they want to be on it.
But the patient doesn't know.
No, so that's why you need to get back to them.
It will cost money.
Yes.
Okay. So, back to the conversation that I wanted to have with you.
Well, it will save a life.
Well, yeah. So the alternatives, what are the things that people need to know to pay attention to as far as their health is concerned?
So I've always, secondly, been an advocate of healthy living. Try to avoid the triggers. There are conditions that will trigger those conditions that you are trying to medicate for. So let's say there's a high blood pressure. You want to ensure that your bad fats are out, your good fats are in, your exercising is in, your swimming is in. You want to ensure that if you've been a victim, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go into that direction again, of all these abuses that we have spoken of, your first bet is a detox, as bad as it is. That's the only thing that will help you get some form of balance. Even for even in conditions of, I dare say, mental health where you have overdosed on those things, the first thing you need to do is get the trigger out. Whatever it is that is triggering the adverse reaction, take it out, put the good thing in, and then you get some form of balance. So for everyone who's been on that, and then of course, nutrients. You need to get your nutrients in, good nutrients. Once you've pulled out the things that are not supposed to be there, because I always say disease is caused by 2 or 3 things. What is there that should not be there? Okay, that's a toxic load. And then what should be there, and that is deficient. So as long as you get that balance, that's of course apart from genetic predisposition. Even if you have a predisposition, your genetics is saying, oh, everybody in the family is diabetic. But if you're able to keep that balance of taking out what is not supposed to be there and putting back the things that are there, the body would self-regulate. You know, so as long as that balance is maintained, of course, like I say again, apart from accidents and trauma, things that are beyond your control, once you have that balance, then you should be on auto-run. Incidences of maybe mosquito bites or you drank something wrong, all those can be corrected.
Well, I have to thank you this morning for being a part of our conversation once again, helping us to understand a number of things this morning. You know, the sad thing really is people don't know that they self-medicate when they do. For me, that's a major challenge. How do you know you are self-medicating? I'm not talking about drugs or, you know, supplements. How do you know you are self-medicating?
You know, I would want to say that everybody has an internal wiring. You know when you have gone over the board. Okay. There's an internal trigger in you that lets you know. That's the first thing that, this thing I'm doing is wrong. Secondly, by the time you have a prescription from your physician who tells you, use this twice daily, 7 days. 7 days is exhausted, for goodness sake. Why do you want to extend it to 1 year? Like, it works for me, let me use it. You can't see the truth about medicine is that the symptoms of many things are almost alike. Let me give another example. Chest pain. People have chest pain and they conclude, oh my God, this is a heart disease. A lot of things could come up for chest pain. A lot of things. Just like a lot of things could come up for headaches. Yeah. So a lot of things could come up for headaches. And that's even a classic example. A headache is a body signal that something is wrong. So you go, take your painkillers and shut down that body signal and say, oh guy, keep quiet. I don't want to know what's wrong. I can handle you, and you shut it down. Sometimes that signal that the body is telling you that something is wrong is either you are dehydrated or an organ is in pain, it's under pressure or something. Get to find out what exactly is responsible for that trigger, that signal that your body is giving you before you shut it down.
Well, interesting perspective there. I have a friend who says when he has a headache, it means he is hungry.
Said so.
Thank you so much for being here again. Yonda Beniga is a lifestyle doctor. Thank you again for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Well, one thing you cannot OD on is music. And that's what we want to talk about when we return. Or can you? Wait for it. We'll be right back. My guest this morning is that fellow that you've seen. She is in the department of those you say are born in the 60s. She's, I don't even know, how to describe her hair, but, let me just bring on Kennison Brown. The first time I heard about, her music was back in the day, as we say, very, very prominent in the 90s. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much, Arion. Thanks for having me.
Where have you been hiding?
Oh my goodness. Hiding.
In politics.
Okay. All of my hiding places. Hiding as a parent. Yeah, hiding in ministry, in church, and then hiding as a writer, as an author of a book.
Really?
You know, hiding, yes, lots of songwriting. Yeah, hiding, but not really hiding. I just needed to pay more attention on raising my children, who became teenagers, and as teenagers, people always say teenagers were tough to raise, and okay, I wanted to experience that, and I wanted to raise my children myself. And to the glory of God, my daughter just graduated from uni, you know, and she's doing good. My boy is about to enter uni, and so it's yielding its fruit. My hiding to raise my children is really yielding its fruits. And then while I was hiding, I wrote a book, stopped, turned it around, so I became an author. And a lot of unpublished books, and the most actively in politics. Yeah, it was 9 years ago, I wanted to become a lawmaker, a member of the Lagos lawmakers, and somehow I ended up being very, very grounded in Lagos politics. And you know, we just finished this year's campaign and election, so when you think that, okay, it's time to settle into, then you're starting again, you know. So, but lately though, which started in during the COVID, is going back into music, because I thought I was done. I was done, actually. I had given...
Actually, you thought. Let's just keep it at you thought you were done. You know,
Yeah.
but you know, gospel music has evolved.
Yeah.
But maybe you want to help us here. There are those who say there's a difference between gospel music and Christian music. Is there? Some say gospel music is essentially church music preaching, and Christian music is something you take out and all those things, or inspirational music and all of that. Is there a difference really?
I would not say there isn't. Where I wouldn't not totally assert to the fact that, hey, they are not the same or they are the same. One thing, because I had worked that journey where I started as a worshiper, praise and worship, you know, artist, with the popular song, "You Are Worthy, Worthy," you know, and it went viral all over Nigeria, and then followed by Ayo Classic. And so those were songs that you could sing on Sunday mornings. Song that can be used before you bring in the preacher. And thereafter, I went into Afrobeat, which they call it Afrobeat. We didn't even call it Afrobeat way back. I called it street gospel, you know, and I had to use the sound of the street, the sound of the people I wanted to reach on the street, to give them the kind of music. And I had to even feature some of their superstars to get them.
Okay, so that's where
I was using that to evangelize the streets, you know. But those were not songs, turn me around, you know, those were not songs that you sing to bring the word before the word. You understand? But they were gospel music, they were Christian music. Some even thought I wasn't doing gospel music. Some thought it was secular music because it looked and sounded like secular music, and I feature secular music. But it was, so if it wasn't gospel music, it was Christian music. But you asked me, because the messages were deep, the messages were the same. For instance, like song Alaye Mi was a, you know, what do we call street guys? Alaye, Baba Alaye. And my own is that even the Alaye, Baba Alaye still get Alaye, which is the God Almighty. You know, God, the ultimate Alaye is Baba God. So it was a praise song using the street language. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And then to send a message. So it was interpreting gospel music on another level. And so a lot of young people, like this song, Omo Baba Let Me Show, is all over the place. Are you going to call it not gospel? But it's not a song you're going to sing before the preacher comes to deliver the word. So those are just the major difference.
I think there are even churches now that they don't even sing to bring the preacher up. first thing the thing they do before the preacher comes up is announcement. So so those are things are changing rapidly. But let's come to the conversation that you just the party just brought up now. Many don't know the purpose of gospel music. There have been contests and contestations about lyrics, especially when it has to do with language. If you sing the same song in English, if you sing a song in English and you translate that song into, say, Yoruba language, it has a much deeper meaning, which could sound like something that traditionalists would do. You are not unaware of that deliberation that happened recently. So help people understand the difference. When we say, okay, this song is being sung in English, but if you translate that same song into an indigenous language. For instance, you say, we'll bring a sacrifice of praise. The word sacrifice, when you translate into Yoruba, it connotes a completely different meaning. Help us understand that.
Language is language. So whatever it is, if there's a message to be delivered, it is via the vehicle is language. But in our kind of culture, in our kind of Yoruba language, where wa could mean 5 different things, W-A or L-O, lo, it could mean different things.
Even that, forgive me, in the current movie that is raining, O-G-U-N has quite some meanings.
You get?
Ogun.
And like the movie, like in the movie, And so it is that for every word, every word carries a spirit. Either you use the word to sing, or you use the word poetically, or you use the word as an instruction. A word carries a spirit, it carries a command, it's a sound. And so if a song is being converted into another language and it's sounding like, why is it sounding like a bedroom language kind of thing? It's still follow. The spirit of the song would follow. The spirit in the song, which is going to be converted, even when the song isn't translated, there's an emotion that follows a singing. Do you understand? And so you don't get that emotion while you are dancing Ashake. Do you understand? Okay, let me put it. Olamide can be singing the same song. It can even be the same gospel song, same language, or same. Bado, I love Bado, but the language, the spirit of Bado will follow. But guess what? If Bado gets into that spiritual essence of but Bado is a Christian and he sings that song, the spirit will flow. And we'll feel like, wow, Bado carry anointing we don't know. Do you understand? So it's about the sound, the spirit that the sound carries, and the spirit of the man that carries the sound, that delivers the sound. That is the difference for me. So whatever language it is, if it's in Spanish, because look at it, Sinachi's song is being converted in a lot of languages.
Yeah.
And it's the same vibe.
Yeah.
Everybody, they can't Waymaker, miracle worker. You see them, they still crying. It's the spirit of the song that's been translated. It never gets diluted. I hope that answers it.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you talked about Bado, I just remembered song. I just saw it. I have not gone to check the song out because I don't do well with certain kinds of music. But I just saw on someone's status recently, on WhatsApp status recently, the lyrics of a song, of a rap done by no less than Nicki Minaj. And it was like that green on your song, Turn Me Around. Literally eulogizing the Almighty God. And I wondered, where is the place of mentorship in music? People have passion that they should pass on. But they don't pass it on. They carry the passion, even though they don't have the gifts or skills for the passion. So where's the place of mentoring in that? For instance, people, they love music, they want to do gospel music, but they don't know how to sing. At least they can't sing. Their best voices are in the bathrooms. But they go into the studio and make the lives of the likes of Paul Play, Dairo,
Sweat.
Arroy, as a music producer.
Okay, there are two different things. We all were born to sing. We were all born to worship God. We were all born to praise God. In the bathroom, while at work, while you're driving, while you're in the studio, or while you even lead, when you are a worship leader. Do you understand? It's practice. It is when you are called. There are two different things. You can sing, and then you are called to sing. And when you're called to sing, guess what? You will surrender yourself for mentorship and mentoring. Because you know people have gone ahead of you, and then you learn. But if that you just can write the song, some can write. Some their own gift is to write. Look at Kirk Franklin. Kirk Franklin neither sings. Even when he's rapping, it's not even much of it. But his greatest gift was writing and organizing the people. And he calls all of them Kirk Franklin. He could produce, he could get the best of voices, he could harmonize, he could fantastic producer, fantastic choir master. But he's the artist. How?
Or same thing with Quincy Jones.
Same thing with Quincy Jones. You know, so I'm even taking you further than like they can just sing. You know, so music can manifest itself in diverse ways. But it doesn't mean that when you can write, you are the one that will sing it. You can write and say, let me see, there's money in this thing now. You can write and give it out. You can write, even if it's just praise. Get your choir church, your own local assembly. Give them the song that I received this song, but maybe you can make the best out of it. You know, you don't need for mentoring for you. Leave it. Feel it. And face another thing. See, I'm a consultant. I'm an entertainment consultant. And majorly what I do, parents, because somehow they just feel comfortable that you can help us mentor this girl or this boy. And I'll tell them, see, before we get there, that's even the final stage. Let's first know if he can sing. So you don't waste your money. A lot of times they would have spent money on that guy before coming to say, which video should we do? And I was like, out of which songs? Because I don't see song here. You know? Okay. And so you just tell them that, yeah, he has the element of it, but not enough to carry him to becoming an artist. You know, so no need to waste money, no need for mentoring. Do you understand? But whatever the gift is given. For instance, I'm going to go to Bado again. When the guy came with Eddie Duro, he was vomiting this rap thing. He was spitting. So even, I'm not sure DJ was, I've forgotten the guy that discovered him and did the video and did all of that. Maybe they didn't even know, and ID Kabasa. The guy didn't have money. He just only came with was my talent. And they could see that, this thing would go far. So the guy has gone so far that even him, he discovers people and is establishing them globally. Do you understand? That's how this thing is. They hide. There's no need for you to be mentored. Ain't no need to be mentored. But if there is, people will put their money on you. That's how it is.
Interesting. So what do we expect? We can't finish all the conversation today, but you know, what's next from KSB?
What's next for KSB? Okay. Number one, I don't want to say I'm done with parenting, you know, but
you can never be done with parenting. I can't be done with parenting,
but now I'm out. I'm out of the closet.
Okay.
Because my children are grown now. Yeah. Okay. And I'm back singing gospel music. This time, I'm called to do worship majorly, maybe praise and worship majorly, and that was the plan originally. Do you understand? That was how we started. And then before I retired, and the owner of the gift said, okay, I'm giving it back to you. When you stopped, I took a break. Okay, now I'm resuming, so come, let's get to work. So Every week I host an online worship program called the Throne Room Worship with KSB. Every week of my life, every Thursday, 6 a.m. So that is set. And we had our second anniversary just a few days ago. And then the worship now, the worship album, which is that now is the core worship. We do the worship, the word comes, bringing the glory of God down. That is major. So we're going to release an album, videos. One of the videos that just came out now, Borokinyogo, is just talking of the grandiose glory of God. So my assignment is just one. Go sing about my glory.
Okay. I'm going to ask you this.
I haven't finished them.
Okay, go ahead. I thought you were done.
Politics. Should I go there or should we? Okay, politics. What drove me into politics initially was that, Kenny's Music, I'm the vice president of Kenny's Music, and you know that with all humility, we played our own major role with my brothers, Kenny Ogumbe, ID1, ID, and we played our own major role in revolutionizing the Nigerian music scene.
No doubt.
No doubt.
And
as the thing was getting big, and then we knew we couldn't handle it. It was too big for us to handle. And I knew that our industry majorly employs or empowers young people, the youth. And we knew that if Kenny's Music wasn't going to do it, and where are the other record labels? We were not enough the way they were coming. It is what it is right now. See how big they are. Thank God that there's money to do it now. And so that was my pull to politics. I felt government needed to come in to even know what we were doing, either to influence or to put the right policies or even the infrastructure in place to help boost the creative industry. You understand? And so that was my pull. And so, to the glory of God, the current Mr. President, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for the first time, introduced the creative economy. Under a ministry, it has never been done. That is to tell you how blossom. If we even won the Grammy, because somebody, in the past they used to say that. Nigerians get Grammy, how far, from where to where, it's not for Nigerians. That one, these young people, Burna Boy, Weezy, all of them, they have been able to pocket.
Yeah. The awards.
The Grammys. And now the whole world is now dancing to Nigerian music.
Absolutely.
So that is, I thank God that I wouldn't say that influenced that, but they are seeing what the industry has become, and there's no way it's going to be neglected. And I just hope that Lagos State will follow suit.
Yeah, it's never coming down anymore. Is that can Lagosians in particular expect that the Lagos State government will bring back the annual Greater Lagos concerts? Because there are a number of people that are talking about it. It wasn't from the previous administration. A number of people were expecting that it was going to be sustained.
Nice question, because it has never really gone. It's just that the name they are changing. And there was a time it was Lagos Fiesta.
Yeah.
Then another time Greater Lagos, and another. We had one last Christmas, because I've always been a part of it, either to perform or be a consultant or get artists. So somehow I've been a part of it, and it depends on the governor. Okay. Like Governor Ambode he loved music. He said at a younger age he wanted to become a musician, and somehow when he became a governor, it was easy for him to just give us that big stage. You understand? Governor Sanwo-Olu is not pro entertainment as that. He's pro infrastructure. We call him Mr. Infrastructure, Mr. Incident Commander. Health, education, but he's supporting entertainment with the institutions that are on ground. But last year there was one I don't know what name it was called this last Christmas.
It was one Lagos,
but it wasn't as big as what we used to have back in the days.
Yeah, there was one that I think it was particularly, I don't know, it was last year, it was decentralized all over the city.
Yes, it has always been though, Idile. It has always been, you understand. But also, it depends on the commissioner or whoever that is instrumental to ensuring that is done. So That's
Okay.
where it is.
A quick one on this particular one. Some secular musicians, as we call them, love God, but they feel that Christian music or gospel music is not going to give them the expression and all of that. I particularly love a Case Daniel song titled Barnabas. I love that song to bits. You know, so what do you say to such musicians who? And I think I even heard a Davido song in that same regard. You have 60 seconds.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Because music is from God. It's a gift. Satan didn't create any. In fact, I mean, we read that he was actually the one that was the chief musician back in the days with God. So God took it and gave it to men. So it's either you're doing gospel music.
Okay.
You know, we all cannot.
Okay. We
all can do. And guess what? Don't even think there's only gospel music there is. There is Islamic music.
Yeah.
There is they have their own music. Music came from God. But if there's for you to come and do gospel music and then not look at the boxing thing, then you know it's a calling and it's a sacrifice. You stick to it. Okay. James, but guess what? The guys are cashing out even in gospel music now.
I've told you before that, I mean, this is not the only conversation we're going to have about this, but we have to thank you very much at this time for being here. KSB.
Yes,
it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Kenny Brown, thank you so much for your time and all the best.
Thank you very much.
And that is Sunrise today. Thank you for the privilege of being a part of your Saturday morning. And please be good and be great to yourself. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Amaya Makinde. Bye for now.